Hey, welcome to Church Experience Online. We're so happy you joined us today. As you watch this teaching video, if you have any questions or need help getting connected, please don't hesitate to reach out by phone or email. Also, our website is the best place to go if you'd like to access helpful growth step resources, join a serving team, connect in a life group, get your questions answered, or support this movement financially by giving online. At the end of this teaching video, you'll hear one of our Church Experience Worship original songs, and we hope that gives you an opportunity to worship and reflect on what you've learned. Thanks again for joining us at Church Experience Online.
We all have walls that stand between us and what we can become. Walls that look like they could never be moved. What if there was no wall that could hold us back? From knowing Jesus more, from growing in our faith. What if there was a way for us to break through?
One of my favorite stories when we pulled one over on Jennifer and we got her good was we were pulling into a Target and she needed to go in and just get a couple things, and so the girls were going to go with her and me and the boys were going to stay in the vehicle. And so she's getting out with the girls and getting ready to go into Target, and I catch her right before she walks away. I says, "Hey babe, do you think that you could get like a bag of my favorite cookie right now, which is double stuffed EL fudge cookies?" And I just kind of threw it out there, and I got the response I was kind of expecting. She's like, "That's not like very healthy for you, right?" And she throws back something like that left me with very little hope that she was coming back with the cookies I wanted. So as she walked away with our daughters, I turned around to my sons. I said, "Guys, what do you think we pull a good one on Mom?" And they're like, "Let's do this." So we drove across the parking lot and pulled in front of Publix. We get out, we run inside. We go down the dessert aisle, right? We get our favorite cookies. We get some other health food, some donuts, right, for breakfast. We get all the good stuff, right? We load up. And then we check out and we hustle back out to our vehicle. We hop in and we drive back over to Target where we're waiting for her to come out. She comes out with a few bags of groceries. She hops in, and I had this all set up with the guys. I said, "Guys, when she sets her bags in the back seat, what I want you to do is I want you to be hiding all the good stuff and then just tuck it in her bags, all right? And then what we're going to do is we're going to hold them up and be like, 'Hey, Mom, thanks for getting us these snacks,' okay? This is going to be great." So even though they were only 5 or 7 at the time, they played this perfectly. I'm telling you, they had this down. They had all the goodies hidden behind the seat. She puts the bags down, the girls get in, everybody puts their seatbelt on, and the boys pull out her bags, her Target bags. And they say, "Hey, Mom, you got us donuts?" And she turns around, and she's really confused. And they're like, "And you got Dad's cookies?" And she's like, "What's that?" Like, she had no category for this in her mind because they were pulling them out of the Target bags that she just brought out. And I kind of added to the fire. I added some fuel to the fire, and I said, "Well, babe, did you grab someone else's bags?" And at this, her confusion turned into concern. And at that point, when we knew we had her really good, all 3 of us guys just started laughing so hard. It was awesome. It was an epic moment, right? We got her really good. She didn't know what had hit her, right? We love sweets, right? How many of you guys have a sweet tooth? You love, you got a favorite dessert? Okay. The thing is about something that you really want to eat, as sweet as it, once you get it in your mind, it's hard to get it out of your mind, right? You're like, I got a craving. We call it a craving. I want that. That sounds really good. Sounds really good. I want some of that. And temptation is strong, and I think you and I will go to great lengths to meet our desires. And our desires can get us into big trouble when they're not submitted to God. It's one thing to talk about some chocolate and some candy and all that, but there's some other desires that we have for things that can be so self-destructive that they can really wreck our lives, they can ruin our relationships, and they can ruin our future. But if you really want a breakthrough, if you really want a breakthrough in your life, then we've got to talk about your desires. We've got to talk about our desires. If you want to overcome sin in your life, if you want freedom, if you want breakthrough from guilt, if you really want to run and follow after God with all your heart, I hope you'll take some notes today. I hope you write this down, not just because I think this is going to help you, but you might know someone in your life that you'll be able to take these lessons today, specifically when I get to the end and I give you kind of a plan of what I'm calling like the path to freedom. But James chapter 1, verse 13 says, when tempted, no one should say, God is tempting me, for God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does he tempt anyone. But each person is tempted when they are dragged away by their own evil desire and enticed. Then after that desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin. And sin, when it is full grown, gives birth to death. So those desires inside of us that are unhealthy, that are sinful, when we feed them, they grow and they can really ruin us. Unhealthy desires, when they're not submitted to God, they'll not only show up, but they'll eventually blow up. And they'll gradually take you out if you let them. In fact, the lesson here is that gradual takedowns still take you down. Right? I mean, even if they're gradual, they still take you down. A gradual takedown is still a takedown. And the devil's happy to take you down any way that he can. And if it's fast and if it's slow, it doesn't matter to him. He wants to take you out of the game. See, you're going to be tempted to sin. To disobey God is this rebelliousness inside of us, this independence inside of us to do things our own way. That's going to happen. We're in a fallen world. The temptation's going to come. However, whatever you feed is going to grow. Whatever you feed is going to grow. You remember the last time, hopefully it hasn't been a long time, but do you remember the last time that you were on a healthy eating streak? We all know what the streaks are like. We've been on both sides of it. And you remember the last time you were on a healthy eating streak, right? I mean, you were into the salads and the fruits and the veggies. You're like, give me some pineapple, man, some carrots. It sounds good, man. That salad, it looks great. Give me some grilled chicken on it, man. It looks awesome, right? But then do you remember like when you got on a bad eating streak? Man, those greasy French fries, maybe dip them in some barbecue sauce. If you know what I'm talking about, maybe mix that barbecue with some honey mustard. Oh, man, sweet potato fries. Oh, man, it's some good stuff. I mean, the more grease, the better. I mean, it's so good. And you got into eating all that food that wasn't so good for you. And then what happened when you're on that unhealthy eating kick? You're like, I don't want to eat a salad. That's like eating grass. I don't want any fruit. Give me some. If I'm going to have fruit, I want to top it up on my dessert. All right, give me the dessert, maybe put a little fruit on top so I feel better about eating it, but I don't want to eat any of that healthy stuff. So you get on a healthy eating streak, the bad stuff doesn't look so good. You get on a bad eating streak, the good stuff doesn't look good. I mean, you know it from your experience. You know what that's like. Same is true with your sinful desires. Whatever you feed is going to grow. And if you gradually start to feed the sinful desires in your life, they're going to grow. They'll eventually show up in your life, not just your mind, not just your heart. They'll start to show up in your life, and eventually they'll blow up. And gradually, when you intake temptation, when you allow for temptation, when you flirt with temptation, eventually you're going to fall. See, what you allow, what you tolerate is what you live with. You know, if you dwell on sinful desires, you're asking for increased temptation in your life. Whatever the temptation is, it's different for everybody. It's different for the person sitting next to you than what it is for you. But if you allow it, it's going to grow. You know, Jesus prayed in the Lord's Prayer. Do you remember his prayer? He said, lead me not into temptation, but deliver me from evil. It's wise to avoid temptation. Temptation itself is not sin. You're gonna be tempted, so you don't need to feel guilty. Some people feel guilty when they're tempted. I feel wrong. You're gonna be tempted. That's one of the devil's key strategies is to dangle it in front of you. Whatever the temptation is, to say, hey, this is good, right? Come on this way a little bit. You're gonna be tempted. That's not sin. But when you indulge in the temptation, that's sin. When you cross the line and you disobey God and you turn from from what you know is right into doing what's wrong, that's where you cross the line. One famous theologian, John Wesley, said, I can't keep a bird from flying over my head, but I can keep it from making a nest on my head. And the truth in that is that you can't stop temptation in the world we live in. It's all around us. But if you feed it, it's going to grow, and you're going to expose yourself to more temptation. And it won't be long until you cross that line from entertaining whatever it is that you've been thinking about to actually doing it. See, they have this saying that's, I think, so helpful. It's come throughout the years, and I don't know that we actually know who originated this, but it's true. Sin will take you further than you wanted to go. Sin will keep you longer than you wanted to stay. And sin will cost you more than you wanted to pay. It's this gradual pulling you in. You're like, well, I'm not going to stay long. I'm just going to check it out. Right? I'm just a little bit. And then before you know it, it wrecks you and it ruins your life. It's just one incremental step at a time. It's this gradual slide from where you want to be, where you know you should be, and where you want to go, to where you know you shouldn't be. And it's this gradual compromise, one compromise at a time. When's the last time you compromised? A gradual takedown is still a takedown. See, you can easily get sucked into and stuck in an evil desire, and it keeps you there. They call this state of being stuck addiction. Addiction. The definition of addiction, the dictionary would tell us, is that it's the state of being enslaved. Actually enslaved and enchained, and your evil desires will do that. They will get you stuck. You on the way in got a finger trap. You want to pull that out with me? We'll have a little bit of fun here. See, I know who invented the finger trap, all right? You know who it was? It was the guy who wanted to pay back people like me, all right? See, because I was the kid in school, maybe you hated this kid in class, the one that was always, tapping their pen on the desk, right? They're just having a good day. They're whistling while they work. They're bouncing their knee. And there's some people in the class, this is like the 10% that just cannot stand that. They go crazy. My wife's one of these people. God put us together. It's a great thing. So like, I don't even know I'm doing it. I'm just saying, Brandon, you're killing me. Come on. It's just driving me crazy. And it was the person that hated that guy in the class that was always doing that kind of stuff that made up this. Because why? They knew that people like me would play with it. They're like, oh, this finger trap, this is kind of cool. You put your fingers in and you pull. Man, I'm stuck. And then it's like payback right there. It is. Go ahead, just put your fingers in there. Just pull out. And what happens? Your fingers are stuck, right? You're stuck. Don't you hate that? And then some of you are panicking right now because you literally can't get it off. I'm not even going to tell you the secret that you put your fingers back together. That's how you get it out. I kind of want you to panic a little bit. But you know what? I think this is what happens when we submit to evil desires. When we start following those evil desires, we just kind of curiosity. We put our fingers in there, and then before you know it, we pull and we're stuck. We get into lying. One little lie, not gonna be that big of a deal. Just I don't want to hurt their feelings. Just stretching the truth. A little white lie, it's not gonna hurt anybody. In fact, it might even do some good. We put a little white lie, a little compromise in our character, and before you know it, we have a pattern of deception, and we're stuck. We're stuck. Well, the thing is, I know I shouldn't spend my money like that. And I know I should probably have a budget, and I should probably, I don't know. I'm just going to kind of go spend the money how I want to, and we just go, shopping becomes almost like a drug for us. And we go out and we spend money in the way we should. We get all kinds of debt, and before you know it, we're stuck. We're stuck. And all kinds of stress and pressure ruin our lives. Maybe it's something a little more serious. Maybe it's just occasional glance. It's called eye candy. So I know I probably shouldn't look at that, but it's not that big of a deal. Everyone's doing it, and before you know it, you're stuck. And that little bit of lust has turned into a lot of lust, and you're stuck. You're stuck in pornography, maybe in adultery. It's wrecked a relationship. Man, you're stuck. Maybe it's something you might say simple. Well, it's, I probably should eat healthy. I'm not too worried about it's not that big of a deal. We're all going to die, right? Just come on. And you start eating unhealthy, don't take care of your body, and never exercise. And before you know it, you get on a life, and it's turned into gluttony. And you're like stuck, and your health is failing, and that's affecting your finances. You're stressed out, and there's medical bills piling up, and you have no energy, and you're stuck, and you're wrecking your life, and you don't know how to change it. But it's just this pattern. It just started something real simple. Maybe it was just try it one time. I'm not druggy or anything. I just thought, try this thing. Or maybe it was not even something intense like drugs. Maybe it was, I know my dad had an alcohol problem, but I'll be fine. I'll be fine. And it went from just casual self-control drinking to now it's an addiction. You hate to use the word, but if you're honest with yourself, you're an alcoholic. It's ruining your marriage. It's ruining your life. It's just messing you up. You're stuck. I think we could go on and on. We could talk about things like greed. We could talk about things like anger. We could talk about all kinds of stuff. But the point is, when you surrender to those evil desires and you get in there, man, it's going to get you stuck. And God knew this, and he didn't want you to be stuck. He wanted you to experience breakthrough. He wanted you to have breakthrough. Romans chapter 8, verse 5, I think throughout this teaching series, we've been trying to help us see that there's way more going on than what we realize. There's way more going on under the surface. In verse 5, he says, those who live according to the flesh have their minds set on what the flesh desires. But here you see the battle of good and evil, of light and dark, of God and our enemy, the devil. He says that those who have their minds set on the flesh, they go after what the flesh desires, but those who live in accordance with the Spirit have their minds set on what the Spirit desires. The mind governed by the flesh is death, but the mind governed by the Spirit is life and peace. Come on, life and peace. Isn't that what we want? We want joy. We want peace. We want to be free to just run and experience life to the full in Jesus. That's what God wants. So you have a decision, our decision to make, and it's not a once and done decision. It's a decision you have to make every day, whether you're a long-term believer or whether you're new to following Christ. You got to make this decision every single day because you can't get away from temptation. But sin, if you allow it, will ruin your life. And sinful desires lead to regret. But satisfying your desires in God allows you to rejoice. Part of this understanding about the danger of sin is to understand my weakness when it comes to sin. See, your weakness and mine is when we look at temptation is it's got this short-term high that it offers. It's short-term and it's like, man, this looks good. This would feel good. This experience would be great. I would feel better. Good would come into my life. If I just take this shortcut, something good will come into my life. And it's like this short-term gain. But the problem with sin is that short-term gain is followed by a long-term loss. It's a temporary seeming win, but it's a long-term loss. But the thing about satisfying your desires in God is a lot of times you have to take what seems like a short-term loss, where you sacrifice, you don't do the easier thing, you don't do the thing you feel like doing, you don't do the thing that everybody else around you is doing. You swim upstream, you live counterculture, you sacrifice, and you take a short-term hit. It feels like a loss. That's why most people don't do it. But then what happens is that you get the long-term gain. The long-term gain. And I think some of us here, if we want a breakthrough, you need to make a trade. You've been making the wrong decision in the moment. You've been living in the moment, not for the long term. And you need to make a trade. If you want a breakthrough, you got to start making a trade. And here's the trade. You need to trade short-term pain for long-term gain. That's the lesson. You need to trade short-term pain for long-term gain. You've been taking the quick win, the little gain up front, and then you've been losing. Maybe your whole life you've been losing to it. You're like, I'm just going to take a little bit of this now, and it's going to make me feel better. I'm just going to take a little step down this path, and it's going to be good. I'm going to get some kind of gain, and I'm just saying that short-term gain brings all kinds of long-term pain. So you need to make a trade. You want a breakthrough? Come on, you want a breakthrough? You need to trade. You need to trade out that short-term pain. Sacrifice a little bit. Say no. Live in that pain. Say, it's okay. God's with me in this moment. I'm going to push through it, and I'm going to see the result on the other side. And it's going to be a good thing, a good trade. See, Galatians chapter 6 instructs us in verse 7. It says, don't be deceived. And that's where a lot of us are living. We're being deceived by the devil. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. What have you been sowing this last week? This last month? I find that, I don't know if this is especially true in Florida or what, but my eyes have been open these last few years. It seems like in the spring, people get restless. You feel that? You felt restless lately? It seems like to me that people get restless. And it's like, I need something. I got to do something. It's like that spring fever is just coming. It's like they got to change something, do something different. They got to figure something out. They're restless. And people make real bad decisions when they're driven by emotion and they're restless, that kind of thing. And Galatians chapter 6, verse 7, it says that what we sow, what a man sows, is what we reap. Verse 8, whoever sows to please their flesh, from the flesh will reap destruction. Whoever sows to please the Spirit, from the Spirit will reap eternal life. What are you sowing? I got to do something. I got to do something. What do you run into in those moments? Do you want more Jesus? Or do you want something in the short term that's going to, bring about a little win in your life that you're going to struggle with down the road? See, this is how sin becomes life-dominating. Erwin McManus, Christian author, said that addictions become life-dominating patterns because up front, most of the things that destroy us, listen to this, they're extremely enjoyable. They taste good on the outside. The wrapper looks good. But then when you bite into it, it's like a cancer that you've just injected into your soul. Let's talk about, just for a few minutes, a sin and addiction that seems to me like it's destroying our culture in America. It seems like it's dominating the landscape and probably one of the most prevalent diseases that has been spread ever across our country and around our world, and that's the addiction of sexual pleasure. Man, I know we're getting real today, and we're kind of going in places you're like, I don't feel comfortable talking about this at church break. I could just speed up this section, just kind of move along. I won't stick on a long time, but man, I think we need to go there. In fact, I think this could be real freeing and helpful for some people because this is a sin that people hide. And then you could say, hey, it's good to see you at church today. And you have no idea what they've been doing that weekend, what their next week's going to look like, and people conceal it, they hide it. It's a sin of secrecy. And because of my role as a pastor, I get to peek behind the curtain so many times, more times than probably I ever would have wanted to sign up for, because it's heartbreaking. I'm happy to go there because I get to help people, but man, when people tell you what's going on, I just never would have known. I never would have known, and it's heartbreaking. And so I want to help today. And maybe this will be a preemptive conversation to keep you out of a lot of pain, or maybe if you're in it, this will help you get out, and maybe you know somebody that's going to help. Hebrews chapter 13, verse 4, it says, marriage should be honored by all, and the marriage bed kept pure, for God will judge the adulterer and all the sexually immoral. So sexual immorality, defined as, in God's word, anytime sexual activity happens outside of marriage between a man and a woman, committed as companions for life, in a committed covenant relationship. Anything outside of that, according to God, I'm not making this stuff up. I mean, this is God's plan A. This is how he wrote the book. He said, this is where I want sex to be contained, and it's for your benefit. There's all kinds of things we can talk about. We're not going to get into all that today, but there's a lot of, but anytime you take it out, it's like a fire that was contained in a fireplace. Man, it's a good thing. It can provide heat. It can warm up a meal. There's so much good, but man, you take it out of the boundaries, and it can cause a destructive fire in your life. And a lot of people are living in that fire because, see, a little bit of lust turns into maybe a little bit of soft pornography, which turns into hard pornography, which might turn into acting out. Maybe it's a strip club. Maybe it's an adulterous relationship, which turns into complete immorality and a broken life, a broken marriage, if there was a marriage, and kids growing up in a split home and a wounded spouse. And I've seen this pattern. I can't tell you how many times in these years I've been in ministry. And I know that the devil, this is one of his favorite plays, is to ruin people through sexual immorality. And it causes you to drift from God and his kingdom and what he wants. 1 Corinthians chapter 6. 1 Corinthians, how you guys doing? You doing all right? If you sweating, you're like, come on, Brandon. I'm not going to make eye contact until he's done. 1 Corinthians chapter 6, Verse 18, flee from sexual immorality. All of the sins a person commits are outside the body, but whoever sins sexually sins against their own body. Do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit? That's awesome. Who is in you, whom you have received from God. You are not your own. You were bought at a price. Therefore, honor God with your bodies. Your body's a gift from God. He created it. And his Holy Spirit, if you're a follower of Jesus, dwells inside you. And that's amazing. And he says, so honor God with your body. Your body is God's. Your body belongs to him and is set aside for divine purposes. So don't indulge in sexual immorality, which displeases God and will destroy your life. You need to have a good plan if you're going to live free from this. And you're going to need some accountability, or the chances are very high of it showing up again. Maybe you feel hopeless today. There was a girl, Chelsea, who wrote a letter. She was a girl who was stuck in pornography, and she said, I tried to stop. I've cried, I've sobbed at night, I've prayed, I've kept journals, I've read books. Honestly, she said, I'm at a loss. I love God, but I can't continue to keep asking for forgiveness over and over and over for the same thing. I know I need help, but I don't know how to get it. I know that God has so much more planned for my life than this, but this sin continues to conquer me. And continues to conquer me. And maybe you feel conquered today, and maybe it's not by that sin. Let's open it back up to a broader level of temptation and sin and addiction. Whatever it is for you, and I found that a lot of times that addictive personality can be multiple things. So you might have a few things today that you're juggling and you're trying to figure out and get free from. Whatever it is, I just would like to say to you today that you can be free from sin. You can be free from guilt. This is the hope of the gospel of Jesus Christ, that God is stronger than whatever you're coming up against in your life. You might have a loved one in your life. It might be a good friend, it might be a neighbor, it might be a spouse who's struggling, and you're praying hard for them, but they're stuck. And so I just want to remind you today that you can have freedom, that they can have freedom, that it's possible, and God can help you find freedom. It's an amazing thing. God forgives, he restores. You just need to know that. We took our kids to Epcot for the first time earlier this month. And it was so cool to take them there and get to have the experience, and it was a neat time. But the day we happened to go, the day we had on the calendar, unfortunately the weather didn't cooperate. So we're there, and it was a rainy day. It rained almost the entire day, and we're there walking around the theme park in the rain. If you've ever done that, you know it's not the same as when you go where there's blue skies and sunshine. It's just kind of a different thing. You're running from place to place, and we were aware of the fact that the rain was about to downpour, but we didn't know when it was actually going to start. And so we were trying to get as much in as we could. And we were at one ride, and we knew the next ride was some distance away. And all of a sudden, the clouds kind of broke, and all this moisture just started dumping down on us. I mean, torrential downpour. So we're like, come on, kids, come on, let's go. So we just took off running. We got the stroller, we got the 4 kids, everybody's running. It's just, we're scrambling, but it's not just us. It's like hundreds and really probably thousands of people all around us running for shelter. And it was just madness. You would think we were like under attack, and everybody's just running for their lives. And I'm just trying to make sure we have all the kids, let alone any of the stuff we have with us. And so we're running, we're pushing the stroller. We finally get where we're going. And Kira's like, Dad, my shoe, my little 6-year-old, she's got one flip-flop on and she's lost the other one. And it's somewhere out there. And I'm like, all right, I'll be the hero. So I reluctantly run back out into the rain, the downpour. I'm at this point, I'm just dripping wet, right? And I'm running back out in the rain. I'm retracing our path. I don't find it anywhere. So I run all the way back, and I'm soaked. And like, did you find it? No. Go again. I'm not going again. It's like, it's not out there, I'm telling you. I'm wet. And so we unfortunately did not find the flip-flop. So we kind of made our way through a couple rides, and we're trying to, hey, Kira, like, stand behind me so they don't see you only got one flip-flop on. Next time we go past a place that's selling flip-flops, we'll just have to get you some. And so we decided to go to the customer service. Like, before we go buy new flip-flops, maybe somebody turn it in. Like, Disney's crazy. Like, they have people walking around, like, always cleaning the place, and they got their systems. It's amazing. So maybe just someone picked it up and they turned it in. Let's go ask. So we went to the customer service guest relations area, and we said, hey, so my daughter in the torrential downpour, she was running, she lost her flip-flop, but went back, it was gone. Did you happen to find it? This is what it looks like. Here's the other one. She said, hold on, I'll be right back. Goes in the back, comes back out. She's like, sir, we don't have it. But hold on a second. She starts writing something down. I'm like, what's she doing? She's writing down, my information. What's she doing? She tears off this little certificate. She hands it to me, and she says, this is a certificate. You can take it to any store in Disney, and they'll give you a free pair of shoes. I'm like, seriously? She's like, yeah, no, it's just totally just, I'm like, I don't have to pay for it? She's like, no, it's like any pair of shoes. She's like, yeah, any one you want. I'm like, that's awesome. Thank you. I wanted to give her a big hug. And she's like, get away, man. Just go ahead. Just move along, sir. No. But I go out and I'm like, here, guess what? Guess what? Bad news is we didn't find your flip-flop. Good news is they gave me the certificate. You can go pick out any flip-flops you want. She's like, are you kidding me? That's awesome. So we go into the little guest shop and we walk in. I'm like, take your pick, babe. Anything you want. It's all me. I got you, right? She's walking around. Do I want the princess ones? Do I want the frozen? I don't know. I'm gonna pick. She's loving life. This is like the highlight of the whole day. Like, picks out the little sparkly flip-flops, takes them up front. I hand him the certificate. You know, I know Disney. We go way back. You know, it's just me and Walt. He's like, great. No. But I hand my certificate over. They give us the flip-flops, and we're just so happy. And I was amazed because we had lost something, and even though what we had lost was not found, we got something even better. And I just feel like there's probably somebody here today who has been losing. You've been losing to sin. You've been losing to temptation, maybe your whole life, and you feel like you've lost much. Maybe you ruined a relationship over it. Maybe you're stuck in some kind of a dependency on some substance, and you've had so many losses. You lost a job over it, but you got a car accident, all kinds of stuff. And you're like, I have lost my whole life, Brandon. I'm just telling you there's hope for you because God can give you back more than what you lost. God can redeem. He can restore. There's hope for you. You don't got to stay stuck in it the rest of your life. There is a path to freedom. You can get there. You can run freer than you've ever ran before. God has hope for you. I've seen people walk in it, and it's amazing. And God's hope for you is found in His Word. It's found in His Word. And He gives us a really clear process to find freedom. I think many Christians, they get stuck between having faith in Jesus and then never experiencing freedom in Jesus. So they find faith and forgiveness initially, but then they're still stuck in sin, and they never walk in freedom. And God has so much available to you. He's a God of infinite resources. He can hook you up. He can help you out. And so how to help someone run free is what I've titled these steps here that I'm just going to kind of give to you and hope that this will be a step in a new direction for some. But maybe for you, the person that you'll be thinking about as you write these down is a good friend. It's a loved one. It might be one day a child. It might be a parent. It might be a spouse, someone you really care about. But these steps, I'm telling you, they'll help you to run free. The problem is, though, if it's someone that you know and you're writing these notes down, you think, man, I really want to help. And if I get a chance, I'm gonna take these and I'm gonna go help somebody find freedom in my life that I've been praying for, and I just haven't known how to help them. Now I know. I just want to encourage you with this, though. You can't make anyone's decisions for them. This is the part that kills me of being someone who cares about other people. Is that, like, I want it when you see someone making a bad decision, don't you just want to come in and like, let me just take over for like 2 weeks, right? Like, we're going to get rid of this. We're going to start doing this. All right, we're going to read your Bible every day. We're going to pray. We're going to be at church. We're going to do these things. We're going to stop hanging out with those people. That's messing you up, and you need to change this. And it's so easy. Isn't it so easy to see someone else's problems and how you'd fix them? But you know the crazy thing I've realized over time? That I don't realize my own issues, because you know what? You'd probably come in my life, Brandon, you should probably change that. You should probably do this different. See, we can easily see someone else's issues and how we would change it, but we don't see our own, and you don't see your own blind spots. That's why it's so important to be in community and be in relationship. It's crucial. It's so important. You're not alone. But you can't make someone's choices for them. And so don't let it discourage you. If you take these notes and you go try to offer help to someone and say, hey, if I could help, I'd love to in any way I can. And, you know, they were talking about this on Sunday at our church, and I took some notes, and if I can help, you let me know. But if they don't want help, don't be discouraged. You can't make someone's decisions for them. We were eating at a restaurant when we were in Orlando, and they had some appetizer on the menu. And I almost never get the appetizer. We just go for the main course and all that. But there was something that caught my eye. It said octopus. And I was like, that's awesome. I've never had octopus before. I've tried alligator. I've tried shark. I've tried quite a few things that were unique, but I've never had octopus. And I asked the waiter about it. I was like, so you just going to bring out like an arm? He's like, yeah, we'll just bring out the arm. It's got the little suckers on it. Everything. We're just going to grill it up and just put it on the plate. It's all yours. I'm like, that sounds interesting. Let's do that. Let's try that. And I'm trying to talk the family into it. I'm like, guys, this is going to be awesome. We're going to have some octopus. And my wife's like, I ain't touching the thing. It's all you and the kids. So I'm like, okay, all right, lost cause there. Kids, we're gonna have some octopus. My daughter's like, nope, not happening, Dad. My sons, though, I could see that they were interested. They're like, maybe. We're gonna take a look at the thing. It didn't help when he brought it out and set it on the table, and it's like this little arm. Literally, it's like an arm, this of an octopus, and it didn't look like something you would naturally eat. And I chopped it up. I took a little bite, and it's a little chewy, but it's good. I like it. It's good. You guys got to try this. And they're like, I don't know, Dad. I'm like, come on, you guys got to try this. It's gonna be awesome. They both did. They both took a tiny little bite, and their faces were like, oh, no, I don't know. You can have the rest, Dad. And I turned to my daughters. I'm thinking, okay, well, I got the guys. I know Jennifer's not gonna do this. Girls, come on. The boys tried it. The boys, come on, you don't want to let them outdo you. Come on. And they're like, no, Dad, did you see their face? Like, it's not happening. I tried everything I could to talk them into taking a bite. You know what they said in the end? No, ain't going to happen. You cannot make someone's decisions for them. You might want something for somebody, but they have to make the decision, all right? And so let me give you these steps, how to help someone run free. This is hopefully helpful for you, maybe someone in your life. Confess the depth of your sin. Confess the depth of your sin. Write that down. To yourself, you have to admit it. That's the first step that I'll always tell you to find freedom in anything. You have to admit the problem to yourself, but you also need to admit it to God. You need to get alone with God, and some of you need to leave here today, and you need to go find a quiet place. You go get it in a park or in a bedroom, shut your door, and you need to get with God, and you need to admit what the problem is. Say, God, I have been ignoring this. This is actually a problem, God. I'm going to admit it to you. But you also need to admit it to one other person. You need to find a trusted friend, preferably a Christian, Bible-believing friend who can come alongside you, someone who knows you and believes in you. You need to tell them the depth of your sin. You need to confess all of it, all the details. You need to come clean, not hold any of it back, not just give them the easy version. You need to give them the full version, and you need to confess all of it to God. My dad, when he told me when I was 19 years old for the first time about his past, and I had no idea growing up. And he told me, we were in Las Vegas. We were traveling cross country, just the two of us driving out to California, stopped, hiked the Grand Canyon, had all these amazing adventures together. And he sent me down to Las Vegas. He said, now that we're in Sin City, I just thought I should tell you about my past. He's like, I didn't want to tell you earlier because I didn't want it to be an excuse for you. But he's like, I was into drugs, and I was in this motorcycle gang, and we did all kinds of stuff, and I was stealing all this stuff. And I was high one time, and I felt like God was literally telling me, if you keep this up, you're going to die. And he turned his life over to God. And he went and made restitution, made a list of like 50 places that, all things that they needed to go and make right. And he went back to different businesses and places that they'd stole from, all kinds of things, and he made it right. He confessed his sin. He got off drugs, and this is all before I was even born. And then God called him over time, as he started changing his life. God tapped him to say, I want you to go to school to study to be a pastor. And so he went to school. That's where he met my mom, and he went to seminary, and he was there, and they had me, and I grew up in this home. My dad is the most conservative, Bible-believing, godly, honest, incredible, amazing man I've ever met in my life. I had no idea. It just blew me away. And it helps me know that God can change people and he can change your life. And if you're stuck in something, it doesn't matter how far you're into it, God can help you, but you got to come clean. And it might be for you, restitution's a part of that. You just need to come clean and say, all right, I've hurt you, and I need to come to you and admit this is what I've done. You need to admit to God, put it out there. You also need to understand, before going to number 2, that there's a difference between robbing a bank, right, and walking through the Countryside Mall and stealing something off the rack. Both of them are wrong. Both of them are sin. But you need to know that if you're robbing a bank, there's different consequences than stealing something from a store. And that can ruin the rest of your life. And so whatever the sin is you're engaged in, if you're doing something, I'm just saying that could destroy your life. You need to be aware of those consequences. And you need to change now. Don't put it off. But then I would say to the person who is saying, well, I'm just stealing something off the rack. It's not that big of a deal. In that sin in your life, and you say it's not that big of a deal, every bank robber started by stealing something small. And they started, well, that'll never be me. And sin is progressive and it's gradual, and so you need to stop doing what you're doing now before it gets worse and it's harder to get out of. So I'd say confess the depth of your sin now. Do it now. Don't delay another day. This is your day. Number 2, immediately change direction. Change direction. Immediately change direction. You can't do this gradually. You got to get out of it. It doesn't mean it's not going to be a gradual process of change, but you need to get out of this now. You got to break through. See, if you don't stop now, if you don't mark the calendar and get unstuck, man, this thing is going to hang with you potentially the rest of your life. And I want to celebrate with you months from now. I hope some people will come tell me stories and say, hey, man, that message, that was me, and I was dealing with something, and now it's been 6 months. It's been 2 years, and praise God, I'm free from that. I'm sober. I'm whatever it is, and I would praise God with you. But don't look back. Run. Flush all the drugs. Completely get it out. pour it down the drain. If the alcohol is a problem, pour it out, everything you got and say, I'm staying away from those places. If it's pornography, man, get some accountability software on your computer, just whatever you need to do to unplug, disconnect, to make it work. If it's gluttony, man, I'm changing, I'm getting on an exercise plan, I'm gonna start eating healthy, I'm getting accountability. If it's you're spending your money in a wasteful way and you're a slave to debt and all that stuff, I'm getting a budget today, do or die, it's gonna happen. I'm putting it on the calendar. I'm gonna make the change. Whatever it is, we could talk about a lot of things, but this is me. I'm getting free from this. Number 3, initiate an intense accountability. Initiate intense accountability. Author Randy Alcorn says it's good to talk about our sin, but it's even better to talk about our temptation. And so you need to have someone in your life that you can call up and say, hey, I'm really tempted right now to go down the path that I know I don't want to go down, and I need you to hold me accountable. This is in the middle, the third of these 5 steps, because it's like the hinge of a door. The whole thing swings on that hinge. And you need accountability in your life. If you want to make a change, you need someone that you can depend on and rely on, that you can share everything with, and that loves you and is on your side but can hold you accountable. Number 4, you need to establish invasive boundaries. Invasive boundaries. So you've committed, this is what's going to help you complete. This is crucial. Invasive meaning you're going to have to set up boundaries that seem extreme to the normal person. But you're not normal in that area. You've kind of walked down some laps down that road, and if you allow it, it's going to mess you up. And so you're going to have to do things that and maybe what you would call a normal person wouldn't have to do. And the problem is that you're going to feel like that's impeding on your freedom, and so you're going to fight against that. And the reason why you're stuck in whatever it is you're stuck in is because you wanted freedom in the first place. You didn't want anybody to tell you what to do. You didn't want to do it God's way. You did it your own way. So that very independent nature inside of you that got you in the mess you're in is going to fight against this step of having boundaries. But I'm telling you, and offense is going to get accountability. Offense is confessing your sin. You need some defense too. You can't win a game if you have no defense. And you're going to have some defense in your life. So establish some boundaries, and you don't change those boundaries until you talk to your accountability partner. You give them the key. They got the key now to change that. They hold the permission key. You allow them to come and help, and that safeguards you. That protects you so you can actually be free. Number 5 is daily fill up on the presence and the mission of God. And if you missed the last 2 Sundays, catch up on YouTube. And we talked about the Word of God. We talked about the presence of God. You need that in your life. You need to be about the mission of God. There's no higher purpose than God's purpose and building His kingdom and building His church. You need to bring something in your life to put your passion into. And our passion, our desires were meant for God. And you need to fill up on that and bring your desire to Him. Otherwise, the danger is that you'll transfer your addiction to another addiction. And maybe you'll no longer be an alcoholic, but now you'll be really greedy, and you'll be addicted to greed. Or maybe you'll no longer be greeter, but you become a liar or dependent on some other substance. Matthew chapter 26, verse 41, Jesus, in His own words, His final verse, He says, watch and pray so that you will not fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Watch and pray, He tells His followers, so that you will not fall into temptation. The spirit's willing. So I know you today, you want to, but your flesh is weak. And so that's why you need to make a plan. You need to do it today. You need to get with God and confess your sin. You need to get accountability. You need to set up some boundaries. You need to take some steps and do it today. And you need to fill up on God. Say, God, here's my plan. I'm going to be with you every morning. I'm going to start my day because I need you that way. And I just say, seek Jesus. Trade that short-term pain for the long-term gain. I'll close with this. I was 19 or 20 years old, and it was one of my first opportunities to be a pastor. And I was in a small country church in Indiana. I was going to school full-time, and part-time, I was a youth pastor. And my pastor gave me the opportunity to preach on the 2 Sunday services at our church. And so I was really excited about this, and I'd stayed up real late on Saturday, going over everything, make sure I was ready. I went to bed real late. I was gonna be so tired, getting like almost no sleep. I set my alarm. Next morning, I'll wake up, and I was like, that's weird, the alarm didn't wake me up. And I look over, and I had way overslept. Not only had I overslept the time I needed to get up and get ready on time and get to church, but I slept through half of the first service. And I'm thinking, there's no way I'm going to get there in time to preach. And like, this is my big opportunity. I can't believe I goofed this up. I have let everybody down, the whole church. I'm just picturing up there, everybody's looking around like, where's the preacher today, you know? So I get ready as fast as I can. I bolt out the door. I drive to the church. I pull in the parking lot. The first service is kind of like coming to a conclusion. I pull in the parking lot. I run in. I'm out of breath. I'm sweaty, barely throwing together. 19 years old, 20 years old. My whole world's like falling apart right now. And I get in there in the back, and I look up on stage, and my pastor's standing up there on stage. And he's just preaching. And I sat down and I listened for a few minutes, and it's like really good. I'm like, he just do that. He just got up there and just thought, that's amazing. And so afterwards, I was so humbled and I was so embarrassed, and I kind of made my way up to the front, and I sat down waiting for him to be free, and he kind of came over to me, and I had my head down. I was like, Pastor, I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened. And before I could even really apologize, he said, hey, Brandon. He's like, next service, hit a home run. And that's all he said. And he walked away. He never brought it up again. He's like, hit a home run. And I'm like, really? And I thought he was going to be so disappointed in me. And you know what? He said something to me in that statement. He's like, Brandon, you're struggling right now to believe in yourself, but I want you to know I believe in you. And you made a mistake. And you know what? He never said anything. He got up and preached. He never even said I was supposed to preach. I think people probably saw my name on the little program, but he just got up and he didn't make it about my failure, but he made it about my future. But if he hadn't made it about my failure, that could have changed the rest of my life. He said, Brandon, go up and get a home run. And that next service, I got up and I was preaching twice as hard. I was trying to make up for the first service I missed. And now every time I have a big event, I always set 2 alarms every time because I don't want to go back. So, man, it's amazing that some of us, we think it's all about us believing in God. But maybe you just need to hear today that God believes in you. You can get free. You can be a better version of yourself. God can take you to places you've never been. He believes in you. This is not about your past. I know we're talking about stuff maybe in your past. You try to forget about you. That's my past. Listen, we're talking about your potential. We're talking about your future. We're talking about what God has for you. So get free. Run towards Him. God's got more for you than you can ever imagine. Right on?
Thanks for joining us at Church Experience Online. Please don't forget to check out the website if you'd like to get more connected, learn more, get your questions answered, or support this movement financially. You're now going to hear a Church Experience Worship original song, and we hope this gives you an opportunity to worship and reflect on what you learned today.